Let's get this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amidst chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the show. It is another big day of news and information, and the Narco Boat controversy seems to have taken hold from the standpoint of the liberal media. These people want to get Pete. When I say Pete, I'm talking about Pete Hegseth. They want to get him at any cost, and so I'll go over some of the details of that controversy with you today. We'll also be talking about the newly discovered but not surprising corruption in Ukraine. We send our money and it ends up in the drawers of high-ranking officials. Speaking of fraud, we told you last week that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Walz, no balls, Tim Walz, oversaw, not directly, but he was overseeing the government while a $1 billion fraud fiasco took place. And is he calling it out? No. There's allegations that he intimidated whistleblowers, retaliated against them, etc. It blew up last week all over the place, and now it's gotten the attention of people that can do something about it. So we'll talk about that and the Trump MRI question. He got an MRI. He said, everything was great, and everyone said, wait a minute, you don't get a routine MRI. What's going on? Something's happening. The internet doctors all of a sudden came out of the woodwork. Oh, that's the only reason that someone has an MRI is because their brain is messed up. And so we will show you the results of the MRI. The latest cabinet meeting took place recently. The Tennessee special election in District 7. Now, some of you watch this show live. Some of you watch the replay. And so depending on when you're watching this, that election could be decided. I don't know. But just letting you know about that race. It's a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal, but it's an off year. It's a special election. It's replacing Mark Green's seat, another person who retired in the middle of his term to take another job. And I've always liked Mark Green. I've met him multiple times. But just like Marjorie Taylor Greene dropping out, like Matt Gaetz dropping out. Stop it. If you commit and you run for office, you should serve the entire term. Prove me wrong. So you got this special election going on, and somehow this radical lunatic named Afton Bain has a chance. Now, I think the polling's off, but we're going to talk to two people in Tennessee, a current state lawmaker, Clay Doggett, who is the state representative for House District 70, and state committeeman Chris Morris, state executive committeeman. We will be talking to them in the second hour about that race, so you don't want to miss that. Plus, an update on the Nord Stream pipeline investigation. It was blown up. What's going on with that? Plus, Indiana Republican state legislators are very timid about voting yes on the new redistricting map. What is wrong with people backing up from playing by today's standards? Well, we don't want to set that precedent. Is it that, or are there conflicts of interest? We're going to explore that, plus the immigration pause. I am advocating for a complete pause of all immigration. We've already said here in our country, the president has said that we're going to pause immigration from certain countries. I just got to say, we've got a mess. I don't know how we make sense of a mess while we're adding more messes to the pile. We've got a boat with holes in it, and we are basically filling a bucket and trying to stop the leak. We got to stop the leak first, and then we can get all the water out. So I think we should have a full-on pause, but we'll talk about that. Plus AutoPen nullifications, and is Mike Johnson losing control of the House? We will talk about that as well. Please help us in the algorithm by giving us a thumbs up or hearting the post if you're watching on X and reposting, but share right now. And we love to have your comments in the live chat. That's what we want, okay? Comments in the live chat. And if you are a troll that spams the chat, you will be removed respectfully, but forcefully removed. But again, like I said, please help us in the algorithm by getting the word out about this show. The big story that the liberal media is running wild with are these Narco Boat attacks. The New York Times implied, well, actually, they didn't imply, they just said, basically that Pete Hegseth had ordered this second strike on the boat. The whole controversy is you send in the kinetic attack on them, and it doesn't destroy the boat. And the leftist allegation from some anonymous sources is saying that there were two people hanging on, the boat was disabled, and Pete Hegseth said, "Kill them all." Right? Sounds terrible. Sounds terrible. That's what the New York Times, the Washington Post claims. Basically claiming that Pete Hegseth and Admiral Bradley, who carried this out, are war criminals. And there's other people saying it too. Apparently, according to the New York Times, surprisingly, this claim is total bullcrap. Hegseth did not give any further orders, and the target remained lawful because more terrorists might have gone and retrieved the boat. Okay, so the order was destroy the vessel. Destroy the vessel. Now, the interesting thing here is people start to say, well, you gotta operate by normal, rules of engagement, and you're not allowed to take someone out, unless their guns are still working. And the whole thing is, this is a completely gray area. And for them to say that he is a flat-out war criminal is absolutely reckless, I believe. You've got experts weighing in this New York Times, mind you, New York Times article saying, even though they want to be critical, they say it's not black and white, because if the narcotics and things were still on board and the mission is to destroy, that brings into question, could that qualify under the same thing as them still being a threat and therefore had to be taken out? We still have really no idea, except for anonymous allegations, that there were two people hanging on and were trying to live, and then they just blew them up because they need to kill them all. This is in the article from the New York Times. According to 5 U.S. officials who spoke separately and on the condition of anonymity, they say that Mr. Hegseth ordered a strike that would kill the people on the boat and destroy the vessel and its purported cargo of drugs. But each official said Hegseth's directive did not specifically address what should happen if a first missile turned out not to fully accomplish all those things. And the official said his order was not a response to surveillance footage showing that at least 2 people on the boat survived the first blast. Admiral Bradley ordered the initial missile strike and then several follow-up strikes that killed the initial survivors and sank the disabled boat. And as that operation unfolded, they said Mr. Hegseth did not give any further orders to him. The 2 officials questioned whether the surviving people were Admiral Bradley's intended target in the second strike. There was no, we don't even know that. Were the 2 people on there the target? Or was it the purported drugs and the disabled vessel? These 2 people argued that the purported cargo remained a threat and a lawful military target because another vessel, another cartel associated boat might have come to retrieve it. Again, you have the liberals out here crying foul and defending narco terrorists who smuggle poison into our country. But what about their due process? We are not talking about fishermen. And people say, well, what if they were? Let me tell you, if these are fishermen, then the entire administration is going down. Okay? Time and time again, the people that are in the position of authority and power are telling us we have concrete, actionable intelligence confirming who these people are, where they're coming from, what they're doing, and what they have on the boat. Okay, I have very little doubt that we can identify those things, and the risk if they were taking and carrying these things, these operations out on, a coin flip would be astronomical. These people are not stupid. What they're doing is they're finally getting real to cut off the head of the snake of this evil, heinous, destructive, deadly operation of carrying fentanyl into our country, enriching the cartels, funding terrorism, funding corruption in places like Venezuela, where Maduro has been put on notice that he needs to leave. Venezuela is being circled now by destroyers and ships, and the airspace is closed above Venezuela. Things are about to get real there because Maduro's been warned. Maduro, we don't even recognize him as the president because guess what happened there on election night? Very similar to 2020. In the middle of the night, votes started coming in for Maduro almost exclusively. Our government during the Biden administration said we don't recognize him as the president. We are accusing or alleging fraud here. We have a bounty on Maduro's head. They dumped their criminals and crazy people into our country. They dump fentanyl into our country. They use our country as a toilet, basically, all while being in bed with terrorists. They are funding terrorist regimes. They are doing business. It's a terror hub involving Iran, Russia, and China. I mean, this is not a nice place. And these boats are coming from there in large part. Now, lawfully, these narco terrorists, they have been deemed by President Trump back in January, and he talked about all these terrible things that Venezuela was doing to us before he was even voted in office. So this isn't some cloak and dagger, bait and switch thing where he never talked about it and then he gets put in office and he starts doing this. But anyway, this has always been the plan, but they were deemed a terrorist, an international terrorist organization, these various drug cartels, giving broad latitude to the president by law. I mean, by law, when you deem an organization, an international terrorist organization, you can send in Delta Force. You can send in special forces. That was done back in January. And now people are like, how could you do this? What are you doing? So you may not like what's going on here. It's not a pleasant thing, but what you have to do is direct your empathy to the right place. The empathy belongs to the victims and the addicts that are here in the United States and the detriment it is doing to our country. Fentanyl kills more than all these other things that you're worried about. Fentanyl kills over 100,000 people per year in the United States. And these people are bringing it in. They've been deemed a terrorist organization in the light of day. The administration has been very transparent with these attacks that are going on, and they've been very forthcoming that there is actionable intelligence associated with each of these attacks. And then you have these hit jobs against Pete Hegseth citing various anonymous sources that can't even get their facts straight. The reality is they've been trying to get Pete since before he was confirmed. Yet again, they elevated anonymous sources on various stories when Hegseth himself had already come out and owned any of this stuff. He wasn't proud of it. They tried to smear him then. They tried to take him down for Signalgate, which was just Mike Waltz's major mistake. And it's not going to stop. They're going to continue to try to come after Hegseth again and again. But the stench of hypocrisy is all over this. There wasn't anyone, ordered to disobey, or there wasn't some controversy. There wasn't even a news story about the multiple times that President Obama ordered drone strikes, killing thousands of people. There was no declaration of war. He bombed a wedding. He killed innocent people, civilians. He even killed an American. Obama, was there any weeping and gnashing of teeth and outrage and dissection going on and allegations going on? It happened multiple times. We're talking thousands of innocent people were killed. Those aren't my numbers. You can look this up on Google or with some kind of AI. It is not hard to find. Marco Rubio chiming in on these accusations of somehow violating international law. He said, I find it interesting all these countries want us to send nuclear capable Tomahawk missiles to defend Europe. But when the United States positions aircraft carriers in our own hemisphere where we live, somehow it's a problem. I don't think that the European Union gets to determine what international law is. They certainly don't get to determine how the United States defends its national security. This is about our national security, okay? For once, this isn't us helping some other country defend their national security. This is our own national security. We are under attack, Marco Rubio says, from criminal narco terrorists in our hemisphere, and the president is responding in the defense of our country. He says this, lastly, I would say that the United States and the president has made clear his job is to protect the United States from threats against the United States. And that is what he's doing in this operation. But plenty of controversy, plenty of people trying to say, Pete Hegseth told him to kill them all. It's ridiculous. Hegseth gave an update on the Department of War today in the cabinet meeting.
It has been a historic year at the Department of War. Recruiting and retention over this year are at the most historic levels our country has ever seen. I had a chance to be on a aircraft carrier destroyer over Thanksgiving. The spirit in our ranks since the election under President Trump is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it as a soldier myself in uniform, and I know a lot of you feel the same way. We've ripped out the DEI and the political correctness. It's all merit-based at the department. We're getting back to basics: accountability, training, readiness, lethality, and that's reviving that spirit. And Mr. President, we're rebuilding the military, historic investments. I just took briefings on the Golden Dome and F-47, next generation capabilities that are going to make sure that for generations to come, America has the most powerful, most capable, most lethal military in the world, which you have rebuilt once and we're rebuilding again. And then we're reestablishing deterrence and credibility. If you look at what happened, we deal with every day the outcome of what happened in Afghanistan, the debacle under Joe Biden. We just dealt with it in the streets of Washington, D.C. with those 2 National Guardsmen. And then what happened on October 7th with Hamas, what happened in Ukraine, a war that never would have started under President Trump. We're having to rebuild that. So whether it's freedom of navigation and taking the fight to the Houthis, whether it's Midnight Hammer, those beautiful B-2s going 37 hours back and forth, undetected, delivering with precision, and Iran not getting nuclear capabilities, Europe and NATO stepping up to 5%, locking down our southwest border. It's been an honor to work with Christy and Tom and everyone else down there to lock it to zero, operational control of our border. And then it's getting after and going after narco terrorists and designated terrorist organizations in our own hemisphere. As I've said, and I'll say again, we've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean because.
Oh, you know, the liberal media hates that. How dare you? Justice for drug dealers.
They've been poisoning the American people. And Joe Biden tried to approach it with kid gloves and allowed them to come across the border. Cartels take over community, 20 million people, hundreds of thousands of Americans poisoned. And President Trump said, no, we're taking the gloves off. We're taking the fight to these designated terror organizations. And it's exactly what we're doing. So we're stopping the drugs. We're striking the boats. We're defeating narco terrorists. And we're standing.
And you may say one thing, that drugs coming in through the sea by sea are down 91%. And I don't know who the 9% is.
I'm not sure either, sir,
but down 91% by sea.
We've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find boats to strike right now, which is the entire point.
It's hard to find, vessels to strike right now. That's how effective it's been.
Right? Deterrence has to matter, not arrest and hand over and then do it again. The rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. This is meant to get after that approach. And I will just end by saying, as President Trump always has our back, we always have the back of our commanders who are making decisions in difficult situations. And we do in this case and all these strikes. They're making judgment calls and ensuring that they defend the American people. They've done the right things. We'll keep doing that. And we have their backs, Mr. President.
All right. As Feline Gaiman says, no mercy. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about. I mean, basically, it's, when you and your siblings were misbehaving, daddy had to get out the belt and make an example of somebody. It's a deterrent. And it saves a lot of time and money when you have an effective deterrent in this particular situation. And so, the time to pussyfoot around, that's over. It's time to finally get a grasp on this entire situation and root it out. And let me tell you, there's a lot of corruption that's going on in Venezuela. There are a lot of people making money there. And it's very likely that there are connections back to the United States. It's very likely that the CIA could be involved in a lot of these drug operations. We've seen that in the past. We just have. Let me direct you to a little place called Mena, Arkansas. Okay, it's happened. And here's the thing, the implications of this, and there's so much resistance, and I'm telling you, I think there's resistance inside of our own government from the deep state, the people that are running these black op style operations, these off the books kind of things, to garner influence and to get close to people and whatever. I mean, they probably don't like this, but let me tell you, there's a lot of deception. There's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of corruption. It may have started with the right intent, but a lot of these things balloon out of control over time. And the president is saying, no more of this crap. I don't care if we are getting some kind of intelligence. It's not worth 100,000 Americans per year. This is out of control. Now, what's interesting about all the timing of this is, you remember we talked about the seditious six, those six, senators or Congress people that, said, hey, they did this scripted video. We know it was scripted. Ruben Gallego already said that. This scripted video telling servicemen and women to disobey unlawful orders, sort of putting that out there. Well, they were asked, well, what unlawful orders are you talking about? Are you talking about the narco boats? Oh, we're not saying that. We're just saying in general. Like, okay, well, also remind us not to stick a fork in a electric socket. Why don't you do that? I mean, why does anyone need to be reminded of that? Oh, by the way, don't drink this poison. Why do that? It seems they were basically setting the tone, setting it up, laying the groundwork for this accusation of this war crime. Just conveniently presented itself a few days later. So to me, it has the markings of some kind of conspiracy going on with liberals in Congress and some members of the deep state in the military. And some people have pointed out this is calling for a color revolution right here. They're calling for some kind of uprising. It's all working together, my friends. I just can't buy that this is some kind of coincidence. Think about what Pete Hegseth is doing, what he just laid out. They got rid of DEI. They got rid of all this crap in the military. They've returned our military to a place of strength, lethality, readiness. What does that do? That makes the United States stronger. Marxists, globalists, et al., they want our country weak. They want to infiltrate our institutions, infiltrate our culture with Marxism, bringing, strength and the standard down, weakening our country. They want our military weakened. They don't want a strong, sovereign United States because that represents a light. It represents good. What they want is globalism. They want evil. That's what they want. No sovereign countries, no borders. That's the playbook of the globalists, and weakening our military is a key component of that. And it's no wonder they're getting so much pushback and manufacturing of these allegations because of the results that they are getting. So take note. It means that they are being effective. All right, we pivot now to Ukraine. Anti-corruption units have raided the home and offices of Zelensky's chief of staff. Wow, color me unsurprised. Anti-corruption units have raided the home and office of Ukrainian President Zelensky's chief of staff, Andrei Yermak, in an unwelcome distraction for Kiev officials as they battle to defeat Russia's invasion and persuade U.S. officials to accommodate their concerns in a peace proposal. Two national agencies fighting entrenched corruption in Ukraine said they searched Yermak's office, who's a powerful figure, key participant in the talks with the U.S. They're behind a major investigation into a $100 million energy sector corruption scandal involving top Ukrainian officials. This guy's former deputies left the government last year after watchdogs investigated them for financial wrongdoing. And the third deputy to this same guy was also investigated for wrongdoing, but still works for him. And so, again, we see allegations of corruption. We see people leaving the government because of corruption. Well, where are they getting all this money? Hello, it's coming from us. So I think for a long time, the allegations have been, it doesn't make any sense. This is a recipe for corruption and fraud. Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee from Utah, said some of us warned for years that U.S. aid to Ukraine was funding corruption on a massive scale. It happened back in 2014, by the way, under Obama with the whole Crimea situation. I mean, that's how Hunter Biden got set up there as a guy on the board for an energy company called Burisma, making, I don't know, what was it, $1 million plus a year, up to $3 million, I believe. And he had no experience in the sector because all this money was funneling over there. Those who raised concern, Mike Lee says, were routinely dismissed as Putin lovers and were accused of aiding Russian aggression. The uniparty and military industrial complex did this. He's responding to Laura Ingram's post that it's likely that billions in U.S. aid to Ukraine ended up in private Swiss accounts for top Zelensky aides. No, you guys love Putin. No, we actually don't like throwing away tax money when it's going to corruption. How about that? Speaking of corruption, this whole situation in Minnesota under the watch of Tim Walz, the governor there and former vice presidential candidate for Kamala Harris. Tim Walz, 100% responsible for massive fraud in Minnesota, as alleged by the Minnesota Staff Fraud Reporting X account from the DHS of Minnesota. Various employees are a member of this. They say they let Tim Walz know early on about this fraud And the response was retaliation against whistleblowers, monitoring, threats, repression, and discrediting of the fraud reports. Tim Walz, they also allege, disempowered the Office of the Legislative Auditor, allowing agencies to disregard their audit findings and guidance. Now we're up to $1 billion plus of fraud from a lot of Somalian immigrants, some of which manufactured autism diagnoses for children. They set up a bunch of these autism treatment places, and it's like $400 million a year, up from like 35 just a few years ago, as far as how much money is going in to treat Somalian autism. So a huge, huge case of fraud there. I mean, to be able to steal $1 billion in fraud, I mean, think about how many people that has to be. 75 different people. I would have thought it was more. 75 different individuals. Tim Walz was asked about it by Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. Here's how that went.
Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
Well, I take responsibility for putting people in jail. I mean, what kind of answer is that? This happened under your watch. Well, we're a generous state. That's your response? I don't think that's going to work, little Timmy Walz. I don't think that's going to work because President Trump has called you retarded. That is what he said in a post, and he was asked again about it when flying back to Washington recently. And here's what the president had to say.
What many Americans do find benefits for retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with it. Absolutely, sure.
You
have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with it. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
There's something wrong with Walz. I would agree. The guy, I have never believed that he is who he says he is. Everything about him screams faker. He's not authentic. That's why he was a horrible candidate. And let me tell you, Tim Walz, for all the mistakes Kamala made, when you analyze the polling results, which I have, you know I have because I picked all 50 states 100% correct in the 2024 presidential election. Yes, thank you very much. I'm doing the work for you. All those who watched this show had a good indication heading into election night what we could likely expect. And if we saw something that didn't go that way, then we would know that there were shenanigans running amok. But nonetheless, I've analyzed the polling data. And when you look at the head-to-head, the big separation happened for Trump. And there was, ebbs and flows. But the long-lasting sort of pulling ahead and never looking back for President Trump happened shortly after the vice presidential debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. The Trump campaign never looked back after that because Tim Walz was so bad. Asked about lying. Sometimes I misspeak. My wife gets on to me about that. And the Tiananmen Square thing. Like, let me tell you, Tim Walz is a disaster. Of course, Kamala Harris is a bigger disaster because she couldn't vet that out. But she wanted a yes man. That's why Josh Shapiro wasn't her candidate. We know that on background of what happened during those meetings. But she not only missed just the tomfoolery of Tim Walz or the retardedness, according to Trump, but the fact that this fraud scheme was happening right under his nose and he was silencing people who were trying to blow the whistle. Now, some people say the president shouldn't be using that word. Okay. You don't like the word. You know what? It used to be an acceptable word for explaining something that was, wrong. Something that wasn't right. Something that was messed up. Something that was stupid. Okay. It used to be. Okay. Some say that the word is back. Now, no disrespect to someone who is mentally challenged. I think that word can go beyond that designation, but nonetheless, I don't want to park there. I want to continue on this story because Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has tweeted this out, that they are now investigating these allegations under feckless mismanagement of the Biden administration and Governor Tim Walz. Hardworking Minnesotans' tax dollars may have been diverted to the terrorist organization Al-Shabaab. Yeah, that's the other thing about this is the fraud, the embezzlement, and also the laundering of the money to terrorist organizations. So that is now under investigation. I mean, you mess around, you find out. I apologize for the cough. Had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you did as well, but I got the turkey flu, basically, or something. I don't know, but nonetheless, I'm feeling pretty good, and I will deliver this show with 99.9% accuracy, as our good friend Rush Limbaugh used to say. Tim Walz tried to then misdirect from this controversy and say, Donald Trump needs to show us the MRI. He needs to show us the MRI, okay? President's unwell, which, by the way, people want to talk about President Trump calling Tim Walz retarded. Tim Walz made a joke about hoping that the president was dead. He was hoping that he woke up and looked at his phone and found that the president was dead. That's the kind of joke he makes. And President Trump makes, what some would see as an off-color remark, calling him a retard. And you tell me which one's worse, okay? We know to the leftist media which one's worse, but in reality, I think wishing for death is worse than maybe using a word that some people don't like to hear. But he tried to misdirect the whole thing and make it about the MRI that President Trump got, who said he got an MRI. It was looking great, part of a routine physical, and everyone said MRIs aren't given routinely. Something's going on. MRIs are for the brain. Well, Tim Walz said, release the MRI, and President Trump's like, okay, whatever, everything's fine. The doctor releases this report saying that Trump's comprehensive executive physical advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure he maintains long-term vitality and function. It says that his cardiovascular imaging is perfectly normal. He didn't even say he detected a hint of Big Mac residue in there. He did not. There's no evidence of arterial narrowing, impairing blood flow, or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size. The vessel walls appear smooth and healthy. There's no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. The summary is the level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health. Now, you could say, well, wait, I didn't know that this was the standard of an executive physical. Well, we haven't really had a president this old except for Biden, and they told us nothing. David Sling in the chat says that President Trump's pipes they found in the MRI are playing the Star-Spangled Banner. No, they're playing Lee Greenwood's. God bless the USA, right? No. So we don't know what's normal, but I would say, I mean, if you've got the resources, like, you know, you're the president and you're an important guy, I don't know, like the president, I would say use all medical testing capabilities at your disposal just to make sure. Don't take any risks. Now, all these internet doctors came out of the woodwork and are like, oh, the only place for an MRI is the brain. Something's wrong with his brain. These freaking idiots, man. I just had an MRI a few weeks ago on my shoulder. MRIs happen for a bunch of different things. I found the MRI to be incredibly annoying, sitting still for 30 minutes, crammed in this little hole while tons of noise happens. I don't recommend it unless you absolutely have to. But if I were the president and I was 79 years old, I'd say, yeah, let's, go ahead and make sure we're catching anything possible as early as possible. I mean, this president's been very transparent about his health, the complete opposite of our last president. So Tim Walz tried to call the bluff on the MRI, and, well, President Trump called his bluff. So there we are. Cabinet meeting, President Trump says he believes the income tax will be abolished for most people. Music to my ears. Take a listen.
Over the next 2, 3, 4 years, those numbers are going to go up. And I believe that at some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay because the money we're taking in is so great, it's so enormous that you're not going to have income tax to pay. Whether you get rid of it or just keep it around for fun or have it really low, much lower than it is now, but you won't be paying income tax. We've slashed $1 trillion in costly job-killing regulations, saving Americans an estimate.
All right, maybe we'll just keep the income tax around for fun, he said. That would not be my idea of fun, but basically saying, the tariffs are going to offset all this stuff. And, it should be, at the very least, it should allow us to be able to keep things very low from a tax standpoint. Another clip from the cabinet meeting, Obamacare. Obamacare was made to make the insurance companies rich. Let me tell you, they continue to get rich. Take a look at this clip regarding Obamacare in the cabinet meeting.
It's going to have a huge positive impact because Obamacare is a disaster. I said it years ago and I say it now. And the money should be paid, taken away from the insurance company. Obamacare was made to make the insurance companies rich. Their stocks have gone up 1,000% in a short period of time because the money goes to the insurance company. I want the money to go to the people. Let all the money go to the people and let the people go out and buy their own health care.
All right. So putting the power back in the hands of the people to buy their own health care. I like it. But certainly these insurance companies are a disaster. I went to this orthopedic doctor regarding the shoulder, discovered what was wrong. He wanted to give me a shot, but the insurance company told him, the doctor, you can't give the shot at the same visit of the follow-up. You have to wait at least a day. Why? Because the insurance companies are counting on me not going back. Well, I'll get it some other time. And then they don't have to pay for it. I mean, that's how ridiculous it is. You've got the insurance companies dictating to the doctors what the care should be. This picture is completely wrong, and it's all about the Benjamins, baby. That's it. And so I welcome mass reform in this arena. Okay, so you've got all these people saying, Trump is fatigued, he's winding down. I mean, I would say he's been burning at both ends. I can tell when Trump is a little tired because you'll get a little more agitated. But I got to tell you, I get agitated if dinner is a little late because I'm hangry. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we all have moments where we get irritated. Now, if you were doing the hardest job in the world and you were getting asked questions that are dumb over and over and over, and they, questions can never focus on anything good you're doing. It's always trying to find some nitpicky, weird thing that's based in a half truth. You might get irritated, but Trump, for the most part, you don't see that. But every once in a while you do, but the guy's been working relentlessly. Well, the Trump haters latch on and say, oh, Trump's wearing down. He's in bad health. Look, he had an MRI, all this stuff. Well, we're looking now at this story from the New York Post of the Oval Office logs show that Trump has been working 12-hour days, refuting the New York Times report on fatigue limiting events. Oh, he's limited events because he's so tired. He's been working 12-hour days. Let me tell you, this guy's been all over the place trying to do things here at home. He has been trying to write almost every global issue as well within the first year, which is pretty incredible. Again, now we're in this situation with Venezuela. These are all things that have to be addressed. Obviously, we want, higher revenue, less taxes, and lower prices here in the country. We'll talk here in a little bit about the gas prices. So sit tight for that. But he's handling everything that comes across his desk. The previously unpublished private narrative document spans 10 weekdays between November 12th and November 25th. Okay. This comes after the Times claimed that there were signs of fatigue in his less detailed public schedule. Well, we've got 10 weekdays. They show the president work roughly 50-hour weeks, not counting any official duties that may have been performed on weekends. And this guy works on weekends too. I would say he's putting in more like 70-hour work weeks. The White House made the rare decision to share the logs to counter the narrative that Trump is slowing with age, with the files instead showing him working longer hours than the average American as he overhauls trade and immigration policies, while also attempting to end the Russia-Ukraine war and spearheads the most significant construction at the White House in decades. Oh, also you got Middle East peace. Oh, so also the situation in Venezuela. You got all these things he's dealing with. The files do not list unsolicited cell phone calls that he's known to answer early in the morning. So he's on the phone early in the morning. These aren't in these logs. So, the dude could be working 80 hours a week is probably more likely. Then you have, the social media work he's doing and everything like that, sometimes late into the night. On Wednesday, November 12th, the president's office, Oval Office aides logged 32 meetings and calls with subordinates. 32 meetings. Lawmakers and businessmen, subordinates, on the day that the Congress voted to end the 43-day government shutdown. Trump started that day with the 10:30 a.m. staff meeting in the Roosevelt Room before launching into back-to-back phone calls and meetings with officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Staff Secretary. Placed 6 calls to lawmakers, 3 to judicial nominees, and 1 to an architect. Just bam, 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 bam. Worked all the way until 7:45. Let me tell you, if they're logging this as Trump's day starting at 10:30 a.m., this dude's been working since 5 a.m. Ended the day with dinner with Wall Street CEOs, an after 10 p.m. bill signing event to end the shutdown, and then a meeting with a corporate executive that began at 10:40 p.m. So cry me a river. You're full of garbage if you're saying that President Trump is fatiguing and is slowing down. If anything, man, this guy's picking up more speed, if you ask me. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Let me tell you before we do, help us out by giving us a thumbs up and sharing this post on whatever platform you happen to be watching on. Of course, if you're watching on X, heart the post and repost. Of course, we love our friends watching on the Right Side Broadcast Network. Of course, make sure you're following me on X as well as Right Side Broadcasting by just looking at the bottom of the screen there. It's Ike Wingate. Follow Ike Wingate on X. It's right there. That is my username. Make sure you give me a follow if you don't mind. If you would like to support our mission to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, culture, and media, you can do so via Cash App or Venmo to help us cover our costs in this mission by going to IkeReport.com and making a $5, $10, $20 contribution again at IkeReport.com. All right, the Tennessee District 7 congressional special election, that's a mouthful, is happening, and we are going to be joined by some people in the know in Tennessee. We've got Tennessee State Representative in the House District 70, Clay Doggett, and State Executive Committeeman Chris Morris for Senatorial District 28 coming up after the break to join us in talking about this race between Matt Van Epps and Afton Bain. Afton Bain, I have on Newsmax this morning, I called her the Music City Mamdani. That is what she is. She's a nutcase. And this is in conservative Tennessee that does have some of liberal Nashville in the district. Will she get enough votes to overtake Matt Van Epps in a district that has been predominantly Republican over the years, from whether it was, Marsha Blackburn or Mark, his name just escaped me. I said it earlier, Mark Green. It's been predominantly Republican. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk to them about that election coming up after the break. Okay, I don't want you to go anywhere. We will be coming back with that in just a moment. You are watching the Ike Wingate Show. Again, follow me on X at Ike Wingate. If I can find our spots here. Where did we put them? Let's see. Yes, there they are. Okay, I found them. All right, we are back with those gentlemen from Tennessee right after this.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. You know, one thing I was thinking about this morning is, when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50. 4-week emergency food kit. Preparewithike.com.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics, there's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots at Chalk combine the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about chalk. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IkeWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IkeWingate.com.
Hey there! Tired of watching your subscription costs climb higher and higher? With Q Broadcast, you get more for less. All your favorite channels and content bundled into one unbeatable package. No contracts, no hidden fees, just simple, affordable streaming. Say goodbye to overpriced services and hello to a new era of entertainment. This is streaming the way it should be. Q Broadcast, this changes everything.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at IkeWingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at IkeWingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming.
They want to silence us. But the truth is undefeated. Now back to the Ike Wingate Show.
All right, welcome back in. This is the Ike Wingate Show. It is great to have you with us today as there is a special election happening in Tennessee, an area that I used to live in, actually. Love Middle Tennessee. This morning on Newsmax, we talked about this election. I'm going to play this clip, just setting up a couple things here before we're joined by our guest. Take a look at this.
As we mentioned, Afton Bain's previous opinions, they've come back to bite her. Let's take a look.
There are Christian pastors that have a lot of say and proximity to power in the legislature and dictate a lot of what the power players do. And it is uncomfortable.
As birther, as women who can give birth, men and women who can give birth, we could maybe leverage that as collective bargaining, which
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
Wow. I don't know where to start, Ike. I mean, she hates the city. She doesn't like pedal taverns. That's like the best thing in Nashville, I think. I mean, why do you think that these polls are so close? I mean, do you agree with Jim's what he was saying?
Yeah, I actually used to live in this district when it was Marsha Blackburn's, when she was a congresswoman. And let me tell you, she's correct on this. Matt Van Epps will win. But we are in this off year, and we do have a couple things going on that the liberal news outlets are honing in on related to, affordability, maybe the Epstein files not being up to snuff as far as what people wanted, the full release a long time ago. And then you have those elections in Virginia and New Jersey. But it is a weird time after Thanksgiving. But even though there is part of Metro Nashville in this district, which is very liberal, you've got, a military town in Clarksville and a beautiful conservative area of Franklin, Tennessee. I don't think the Music City Mamdani, Afton Bain, will win this one. But even if it's close, Democrats are going to spin this as some kind of win if it's anything less than double digits. So I would be looking for that. But Matt Van Epps, I think, will win. But obviously, people got to get out and vote. Okay, Music City Mamdani. That is what I'm calling Afton Bain. Of course, Afton Bain was asked about those crazy things that she said. And we will play that here in a moment. But I want to bring in our guest. We've got a lawmaker himself in the state of Tennessee, Clay Doggett, with the Tennessee State House of Representatives in District 70, and State Executive Committeeman Chris Morris. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. We have a bit of a party in here, but it is a busy day in Tennessee. Clay, tell me what the feel is there on the ground today.
Well, thank you for having me on the show today. I agree with what you had said earlier today, that we got to get folks out to vote, that Matt Van Epps is going to win. He is going to be the next congressional member from the 7th congressional district there. These special elections, especially in December, the holidays in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, a lot of people are looking at other things. That life is really busy and they've got things going on, but I'm hearing that people are going out to vote today, which is very encouraging. And one of the things that I learned earlier today is that 18% of those that voted early were first-time voters. So that's generally that goes along with the Democrats on that. But Republicans in the rural counties are going out to vote today, and Matt is going to pull this out tonight.
Chris, can you sort of give us the dynamics of this district a little bit? What are you expecting to see? Obviously, Mark Green carried this handily, and so did Marsha Blackburn. What's changed? Has something changed, or is it just the result of this weird special election timing?
Well, thank you for having us on the show this afternoon, Ike. I greatly appreciate it. The dynamics of the district, there was redistricting. Clay and I both used to be in District 7, but we got moved back to District 4, which is Congressman Scott Desjardins. But a lot of this district is rural Tennessee. Wayne County, Waynesboro, as you know it. Perry County, Linden. Hickman County, Centerville. It's Dixon County, Dixon, Tennessee. There's a lot of rural area in there, and there's solid, true red. And it's with all these smaller counties, I think Decatur County may be in there as well, and part of Houston County, Benton County, Stewart County. Like I said, Humphreys County, there are a lot of rural counties, and they are not going to put up with this left-wing lunatic that has come in here and thinks she's got a chance to win this race. And I know that everybody, I love these polls. I don't know who gets polled, but, she's within 2% of Matt Van Epps. I'm going to make an early prediction. Matt Van Epps is going to win this by 12 plus points.
Well, we got the prediction there from Chris Morris, State Executive Committeeman. Chris, I know you were really close when you and I were trading predictions in the 2024 presidential election. So don't disregard Chris's track record on predicting some of these things. Clay, I wanted to ask you, you are serving in the Tennessee State House currently. If I'm not mistaken, and maybe I'm wrong, isn't Afton Bain a current, is she a House representative or senator? I don't know. Have you served with her? Can you give us any indication of your experience maybe working with or around this woman?
Yes, I can. I've served with Afton. This is our second General Assembly together, and I actually am on the House Agricultural Committee with her. And so as a person, it's been very interesting. Our paths have not crossed very much. She has brought legislation. I chair the House Criminal Justice Subcommittee. She has brought legislation into our committee over the past few years. Everything is very much of the liberal mindset. It's not anything that would make good policy in Tennessee or good policy anywhere in our country. And so, I think a lot of it, the legislation that she's carried is just a lot of the dog whistle for the Democrats, some talking points. One of the bills that she has been touting in her campaign about eliminating the grocery tax, that's something that we as Republicans have tried to do in the past, a complete repeal. You'll remember a few years ago, we did the grocery tax. We had the holiday for about 3 months through the summer into early fall. That was a bill that I tried to carry back in 2021. I had a senior member in the House that was the chair of Finance Committee So I pulled that bill and deferred to her and co-sponsored her bill. But this is nothing new on that. That was just, I think, a ploy that she tried last year.
And so we're hearing that she is against funding the police. We played the clip. She doesn't like the pedal taverns. She doesn't like country music. She calls people birthers. I mean, if you encounter someone that uses that word, I mean, the conversation should be over, in my opinion, at that point. Like, what point is there in continuing? But she has this track record of being very radical and not really sort of. Well, you know what I'm going to do, Chris? I'm going to get your reaction to this clip. Actually,
I do want to ask
here,
you about an attack
before I ask you the next question, because this was her response to some of the crazy things that she's been on the record saying.
I do want to ask you about an attack line from Republicans, because this is a comment you made in 2020 about Nashville. It's gotten a lot of attention in the race. Let's listen to this.
I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
I know you said those comments were taken out of context, but I want to ask you about it, because I'm wondering, do you think it was a mistake to say that?
Once again, I was a private citizen. Nashville is my home. Do I roll my eyes at the bachelorette parties and the pedal taverns that are blocking my access to my house? Yeah, every Nashvilleian does. But this race has always been about something bigger. It's about families across Middle Tennessee that are getting crushed by rising prices, while Washington politicians and billionaires argue about this type of nonsense.
I do want to.
Okay, your reaction there to that, Chris. I mean, what's her end game here? What is she trying to do? And how would anyone vote for someone who hates the very place she's running to represent?
Well, she said it. It's there. Didn't nobody take anything out of context. And she can't even answer the question. Just like any typical Democrat, they cannot answer a question straight. They will run you like a beagle chasing a rabbit around the bush, So that's the same thing we've got going on here. And, to make it a little clearer, she represents House Seat 51 in Nashville. And Ike, to clear it up where that is actually downtown Nashville, Lower Broad, the Gulch, as you know it, East Nashville, over where the Titans Stadium is, Germantown, Madison. She's got parts of Donaldson and Old Hickory as well. But she's saying all these things about what makes Nashville great. And I love that little phrase, an it city. Nashville is, they're a big economic driver for the great state of Tennessee. Our number one producer is agriculture, but behind it is tourism. I think it's number two. Clay, correct me if I'm wrong. But hey, if it wasn't for Nashville, Tennessee would have to be looking for alternative sources of revenue to help fund the state as well. But she's talking about things totally that support her. And, that's just that left wing lunatic that we've got. And I would love for Representative Doggett to expound on what she brought into open session one morning in prayer. It's pretty ironic to show how crazy this woman is.
Yeah, have at it.
Well, and I'm going to add to what Chris said as well. Her values and principles do not represent the people of Congressional District 7. It's far from it. I couldn't imagine making statements about my hometown where I live, the people that I represent, saying that I hate everything that's great about it. And so, if she lived in Memphis, she would be complaining about the trumpet player on Beale Street. But,
and the pyramid.
And the pyramid. I mean, that's the thing. And people come to Nashville from not all over the country, all over the world. People are coming to Nashville. I mean, it is one of the greatest cities in the nation, and people come to visit. But yes, back 1 year during session, she had brought in a transgender clergy to come in and open the chamber in prayer.
That's an oxymoron, isn't it?
It is.
Wow. I mean, there's been some wild things that have happened there, on the state level, lawmaker level, with the three that disrupted. I can't remember what they're called, but there's been some shenanigans. But I mean, Tennessee is a conservative state, but like a lot of these states, there's a lot of red out there across the United States, but there are some blue dots. There are no blue states. There are blue cities, and Nashville is no exception. And I think, Chris, what you were saying is that Afton Bain's current district, in the state house, is much more liberal, much more, metro, densely populated city versus this expanded federal congressional district that she's trying to take on that has a little bit of Nashville, but not a lot of, liberal voters. Am I getting that correctly? Is that what you're saying?
You're 100% correct. It's, really what we can label her as. And, I got to throw a jab at Tim Burchett over in Knoxville, who who is a U.S. congressman, and he's a lot of fun to be around and listen to. As country gets, is Tim. We got to blame this on him. He let her escape from Knox County. She's originally from Knoxville, so I'm holding him 100% responsible. So, and he can get me, he's going to see me Monday night on December the 8th, so he can pay me back then. But, this lady has a degree from the University of Texas in Austin in psychology. Can you imagine this person, you going to see her as your psychologist? She ought to be a proctologist. But anyway, long story short, this woman is a total train wreck. She is the AOC of Tennessee. Somebody's already coined that, and it may be U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn, but that's exactly what she is. And that's all we need is another lunatic in the White House.
Right. Yeah. We need no more lunatics in positions of power. So let's talk to Representative Doggett here on this one. The affordability argument that she's trying to latch onto. We saw this happen in New York City with Mamdani. Basically, of all the terrible things on his resume, he starts telling people he's going to give them free stuff or less expensive things. And granted, the Trump administration is doing everything they can on the federal level. I know you all are doing everything you can on the state level, but you can't undo 4 years of garbage on the federal level in less than a year. And so there are plenty of things that the Trump administration has done that will come to fruition soon, but preying on the need for instant gratification of so many people, you've got these talking points about affordability that have worked in some of these, at least in cities where liberals and folks are looking for, a handout or to demonize those that have done well. Do you think this affordability talking point, is there risk here in this race at all that, maybe we're overlooking, or what's your instinct on that particular subject?
Well, in some areas of that district, it might resonate with folks. Davidson County, one of the highest taxed counties in our state. I mean, you go downtown and have a meal with your family, and there's about 3-4 different taxes that you're going to see on that receipt when you get through. A lot of that was done by members of her own party in the metro government here in Davidson County. But when you go out to those rural counties, I don't know that it's going to hit like it would somewhere else. So a lot of people can see through the noise that she's making about this. It's a good talking point, but at the end of the day, people all throughout that district in the rural counties are saying that, yes, we have struggled for the last 4 years under a Biden administration, but things are starting to turn around. People have more money in their pockets today than they did this time last year. Gas prices have went down since last year. And so that's talking to small business owners throughout my district that I represent. I've got 3 rural counties. The last month it's been great for business. And so the same thing in these other areas too. So for her to go on and say that she's going to bring affordability back, I don't see how she's going to do it. It's just a great talking point. She's going to be one of 435 but she's not going to win. But if she did win, that would be the case. And it's not working.
Yeah, you can't tax your way into affordability.
No.
Chris, what would you tell us about Matt Van Epps, a guy who has served in the National Guard, business owner? What else do people know about him? Let's say someone's catching this stream before they're thinking about voting or something like that. Why is he the better choice?
Well, number one, he served his country and made sacrifices with his own life, and was willing to serve and protect. That is a number one out of the gate with me, a reason to support Matt Van Epps. He has had roles in government leadership under the Bill Lee administration. Clay can expound on that more than I can. He's just a great leader. And what has Afton Bain done? It's like comparing a apple to a lemon. She's sour and he's ready to go. And he's red through and through. And there's no reason not to support Matt Van Epps that I can think of whatsoever.
Clay, what would you say?
Well, I would say, that primary was a large field in the Republican primary. There were a lot of great candidates that had put their name in to vie for this seat. Several of those are colleagues of mine that I currently serve with, some great men. Matt Van Epps was able to garner the endorsement of our President Trump, and he rallied behind him. And so, today's election day, there may be some right now that are watching that live in that district that have not voted. I want to encourage you to get up and go vote for Matt Van Epps today. You've got about 3.5 hours left before the polls close. And talking about Afton Bain, I was sitting here looking through a list of accomplishments that she's done since she's been in the legislature. And
it's blank.
It's blank. There's nothing there. So Matt Van Epps is a proven leader, and he's going to win tonight. Chris said he wins by 12. I say it's by 10. That's my prediction. But Chris, he called my race back in 2019, and he was within a half of a percentage point. So he's pretty slick.
Oh, Clay had a tough, he was the challenger to an incumbent. And this incumbent thought there was no way he could be unseated. And bless Clay's heart, his mother was worried to death. And I said, listen, here's what Clay is going to win by. And it was like a half a percentage point. So, I've called races with you before, Ike, and, I feel real good about this. I think the Democrats try to put fear in Republicans to not get out to vote. But as a tradition on election day, Republicans go vote in person. So that's going to be a big drawing card. Like Clay said, I want to coattail with him. There were a lot of great people who were in that primary, and Matt Van Epps won it handedly. And that, to me, spoke volumes. And one thing, too, President Trump didn't endorse Matt Van Epps till the primary was over. That's what was amazing. You remember that, Clay?
Well, he endorsed him right before he endorsed early vote, but
right before early voting was over, And so, right out of the gate, he did great. I will say this, I was off on that one. I thought Matt wouldn't do as good as he did, but I mean, he pulled it through. So I see smooth sailing for him on this as well.
All right. Well, we will follow up with you. We'll be watching the results, of course. Don't bet against Chris's predictions. I think a lot of my impression of this, knowing the area but not being in the area currently, just watching a lot of the periphery as far as coverage, is there's just a bunch of liberal talking points, media injecting doubt into this race to just get attention. I think you guys are correct on what it'll actually end up, resulting in. Last question before I let you guys go. I'd love to get, both of your perspectives quickly on this if you can. But it's the whole idea that we're in this situation. Mark Green leaving Congress. We see Marjorie Taylor Greene. She'll be doing the same thing in January. Of course, Matt Gaetz did it. I have a problem with these people committing to 2 years and not being able to fulfill it. I understand if something, drastic changes in the family situation or something like that. But to me, if you commit, you ought to serve the whole term. Am I off here? What's going on? What do you guys think about this? And I mean, obviously, it's a thin margin in the House on the federal side. Clay, to you first. What do you think?
Well, I don't know Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I know Mark Green, and I was disappointed to see that he left midterm. I'm in my 4th term right now, and every time that I run and put my name on the ballot, I'm signing a contract with my constituency that I'm going to serve them faithfully for 2 years. And so when we leave, I know that there's exigent circumstances that come up, that people have an illness or something going on with their family, they have to step aside. I understand that, but our margins are so narrow, and the fate of our country is hanging on a string, and it's in the House of Representatives in DC. We've got to maintain the House. We've got to keep the Senate. We've got to keep the president if we're going to see a future. I have 4 children, and I think about that every day. What happens if we go back to another 4 years of Joe Biden, 4 years of Democrat control? What is going to happen? We're doing a lot of really good things right now, going forward in just the 11 months that we've had President Trump back. And so, I would hope that they would stay and finish out their term. They owe it to their constituency.
Yeah, I agree. Chris, I'm going to give you the last word. What do you think?
Well, I'm very disappointed in Mark Green. As Clay knows, I worked on Mark's campaign. He came out of the Senate and as a senator in Tennessee to run for Congress. I jumped on board for him, and he was going to run for governor. He called me personally to put me on his team to run for governor, and of course that fell to the wayside. And of course, I know President Trump, he didn't want to run, but President Trump talked him into running, and he should have served his course. I mean, he neglected the citizens, but not only this, he's cost that district for this special election a lot of money in those counties. And these rural counties, these elections cost quite a bit of money with your early voting, your primary, then your general, and everything. It's just ludicrous at the amount of money that this special election has cost that congressional district. And I'm just very disappointed in Mark. And he should have never done this. I had higher respect for him than that. So I feel like he abandoned ship. So one other thing I want to point out, and Representative Doggett will agree with me, we're going to be talking about congressional seat 9 in the great state of Tennessee. Now, that's truly held by a Democrat right now. It's in Memphis area. Steve Coyne, he's left-wing lunatic as well. But we got another one. You were trying to think of the Tennessee 3 a while ago.
That's right.
We got one of them clowns going to run and challenge Steve Coyne by the name of Justin Pearson. And man, that would be a crying shame to get that clown up there as well, So we've got a lot. We've got to get out to vote and get out and work hard for true Tennessee, because Tennessee is a red state through and through. It's just got those 3 little pockets of blue. And, I've enjoyed getting to be on the show again, and thank you for having both of us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure. And I'm so glad you're able to twist Clay's arm to come on with us as well. This has been a very enlightening, educational conversation, and it's always great to talk about the things happening in the great state of Tennessee and those Tennessee 3. I mean, all the chaos happened after that Covenant Christian School shooting, and trans, it was about trans rights. I mean, and it just kind of ballooned from there. It all seems to be stemming from some of the same ideologies. And we got to root it out. And I appreciate what you gentlemen are doing to fight the good fight, and putting your name down and being willing to put it all out there for the sake of, freedom and the sake of morality and what's right, and just common sense, that there are only two genders, and the rest is just a distraction.
Yeah, the rest are man-made. The only two that are positive are male and female that God made. So, hey, it's been a pleasure, and you have a blessed afternoon.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Take care. All right. That was State Representative Clay Doggett from Tennessee, State Representative House District 70, and Chris Morris, State Executive Committeeman for Senatorial District 28, giving us the update on what is happening there on the ground in Tennessee with this Tennessee District 7 race. All right, we're going to take a quick break, going to come back and talk about this Nord Stream investigation, the redistricting. We'll hit that real quick. That's happening in Indiana. Why are GOP representatives reluctant to vote yes? And should we pause immigration? Should we pause immigration entirely? Entirely? Yes. Okay. I think we should. What do you think? Let me know in the chat, and we will get to that coming up, as well as give us a thumbs up, like and share, and do all the things to help us in the algorithm. You're watching the Ike Wingate Show. Back after this.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. One thing I was thinking about this morning is, when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit. Preparewithike.com. Fourscore and 7 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics, there's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots at Chalk combine the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about chalk. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IkeWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IkeWingate.com.
Hey there! Tired of watching your subscription costs climb higher and higher? With Q Broadcast, you get more for less. All your favorite channels and content bundled into one unbeatable package. No contracts, no hidden fees, just simple, affordable streaming. Say goodbye to overpriced services and hello to a new era of entertainment. This is streaming the way it should be. Q Broadcast, this changes everything.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at ikewingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at ikewingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming.
It's common sense amid the chaos. Now back to the Ike Wingate Show.
Welcome back. It is the Ike Wingate Show. Common sense, not nonsense, my friends. If you'd like to help us cover our costs, you can contribute to the show via Cash App or Venmo, $5, $10, $20 at IkeReport.com. We have our Cash App and Venmo set up there, IkeReport.com. If you do nothing else, please at least like, share, and follow me. You can follow me on X at Ike Wingate. You can find all my social platforms. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, everything. You can find that at IkeReport.com. And of course, would love for you to follow me, like I said, on X at Ike Wingate. Of course, we welcome our new friends at Right Side Broadcasting, and we will be airing on Right Side as scheduling allows. But be sure to heart this post and repost or give it a thumbs up, share it to some friends. We bring this to you at least a few times a week, maybe more soon. We are working on that. I see Michelle and Bree and David and maybe that's Gaetano in the chat on Rumble right now. We got plenty of trolls, but some good folks as well on YouTube watching as well. And so anyway, keep the comments coming in the chat. Let's see here. Ampac says that you should not underestimate Democrats. They love depraved candidates. Trump has been making Maduro sweat bullets, says David Sling. Let's see. Is RSBN on their X feed? It's on their X feed as well as their YouTube feed when our show is playing. And so let's see what else. Everyone, Michelle says, hello, everyone. It's been a long time. Welcome in, Michelle. All right. It's great to have you guys in the chat. Keep those comments coming. All right. We got a lot yet to get to. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with those gentlemen from Tennessee regarding the race there. Now let's talk about Nord Stream, this pipeline that was blown up. You remember that? This pipeline was blown up. When was this? 2023, maybe something like that. Basically, this pipeline that runs from Russia to Germany, bringing there's a couple pipelines. One of them brings, I believe, natural gas. Well, it blew up, right? And before it blew up, Biden was asked, what would you do if Putin doesn't, acquiesce to what you're saying? He said, well, we'll blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. And they were like, well, what gives you the authority? And he's like, we'll blow it up. That's what gives me the authority. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. That's you want to talk about an act of war or whatever. That's a clip. It's out there. Didn't have time to pull it for you today, but I've played it on the show before. But anyway, the point is Biden sort of said, hey, this is what we'll do. Well, then it happened. It's like, wait a minute, did the U.S. do that? And then, the spin was, no, Russia did it to themselves. Well, there's a pretty good indication, that it possibly happened, out of Ukraine, right? Well, Jonathan Turley spells this out from a story from The Hill and his column on an unfolding criminal investigation into the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipelines. He says the German warrant could prove an indictment not just of the government of Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine, but also of Joe Biden. So, Germany was quite, affected by them blowing up this pipeline, which basically the allegation was a dive team went down there, put these devices on that would detonate, and then at a later time, potentially they were remotely detonated. That's one of the theories out there. At one time, Putin said they had found remains of the explosives down there, and they were going to figure out where they came from. Okay. And so anyway, there's this story on The Hill and a criminal warrant issued in Germany. It could prove to be as great as an indictment, again, not just of Zelensky, but of Biden. They issued the warrant for Ukrainian Serhiy Kuznetsov, which may finally confirm what was long suspected, that Ukraine was responsible for the 2022 sabotage of the Nord Stream pipelines in the waters near Denmark and Sweden. The Biden administration may have been given prior warning. It was allegedly told years ago by a Ukrainian whistleblower that a 6-person team of Ukrainian special forces was planning to rent a boat, dive to the seafloor, and blow it up. Right? Allegedly, there were people that were spotted, talking about it, dressed in garb. I don't remember where that was exactly, somewhere in Europe. And after the attack, the Biden administration and many in the media fueled speculation that Russia destroyed their own pipeline. So anyway, that's one we've been following over the years. And it looks like this investigation and indictment heating up. We'll see where it goes. Now, in the state of Indiana, they have done redistricting, taking it from a 7 Republican seat, 7-2, 2 Democrats, to a 9-0 likely outcome with redistricting ahead of the midterms. And now you have some of these GOP Illinois state representatives that are not, they're reluctant to vote yes. They think that the vote may happen by Friday. I don't know what is the problem here, but it could be something like this. There could be a conflict of interest. The Indiana GOP state senator telling President Trump no. He said he's not voting for this because Donald Trump used the word retarded when talking about Tim Walz. He's going to vote no because of that, he said. Well, apparently he was caught driving 3 times the legal limit as well, by the way. And also his wife's company was given a grant that was spearheaded by a Democrat lawmaker in the state of Illinois. Okay. And so there appears to be potentially a conflict of interest there. Did I say Illinois? I'm talking about Indiana. Have I been saying Illinois the whole time? It's Indiana that I'm talking about. We know Democrats have been playing dirty for years with these redistricting efforts. California just did it. Virginia will soon, probably also going to happen in Maryland and Illinois. Now we're hearing reports in Indiana of people calling in swatting incidents on these Republican lawmakers in Indiana. But online reports are that guy there, Michael Boacek, isn't blocking redistricting because of Trump saying retarded. It's because his wife's company got $1.5 million in grants advocated for by Democrat Representative Frank Miravan, whose district would likely be eliminated. These are just online reports that there could be some other deeper conflict of interest there in Indiana. If you're in the state of Indiana, you need to be putting pressure on your state lawmakers, your state senators, your state representatives to vote yes on this redistricting, because Democrats are doing it. You have to fight fire with fire. They changed the game. Now we have to play by the new rules, which are there are no rules, because they are out to destroy this country. There's too much at risk. We pivot now to talking about immigration a video. Of course, we know over Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, this Afghanistan, immigrant who came over from the exit from Afghanistan, who worked with the CIA, shot and killed one National Guardsman, female, and the others in critical condition. And we also hear of another Afghan who had come over in Texas saying he wants to kill anyone who opposes Afghans. They caught this guy. He was planning to build a car bomb.
سری هر کس افغان چه مشکل داشته باشه سری او انتیاری میکنم هیچ مشکل نیست در کجا هستی آدرس در کجاست یک دقیقه بدارم مایک سبیلیت بسته که برادر آدرس در کجا.
All right, so this is from some, I don't know, TikTok call, Zoom call, I don't know, but an Afghan national brought in by Joe Biden, the same operation as the National Guard shooter was brought in, and this guy was building a car bomb. Again, you import the third world, you become the third world. You're not allowed to say third world. You're not allowed to say that. But again, we don't know how many of these crazy people are actually here, according to the Trump administration. And I think her name's Tricia McLaughlin, the assistant DHS secretary. She says the vetting was paper thin. They weren't looking at cyber vetting. They weren't looking at financial. They weren't looking at social. They weren't looking at any real concrete vetting techniques for bringing these people in. So how many more of these similar style attacks might we see? On top of that, we have other people that are in our country that also are unable to assimilate to our laws, our society, our culture. You see it everywhere. You import the third world, you become the third world. You know, we just talked about that Somalian fraud scheme, $1 billion in Minnesota. We talked about that at the beginning of the show. You have this guy who came here, and he is from Somalia, and he abducted and raped a 12-year-old girl. This guy right here. Okay. And of course, the St. Paul Islamic Center wrote a letter of community support saying he has not assimilated into non-Somali culture. That's the letter there, basically saying, well, you know, he's an upstanding guy. It's just a matter of, you know, not being able to assimilate into the U.S. culture. As Isabel Brown chimed in on this, says, forgive my cultural ignorance here, but is this letter just openly saying that raping 12-year-old girls is Somali culture? Because this would be accepted in Somalia, where they don't really have any government or structure or anything like that. Again, you import the third world, you become the third world. And we see the same things happening on roadways. Sorry, cough drop. The same things happening on roadways, with several people getting killed by illegal immigrants who have obtained a commercial driver's license, barreling down the road in an 18-wheeler, who can't even read traffic signs. But you talk to truckers, and since the mass importation of the third world, when it comes to truckers, these rest stops and these areas for truckers have been just trashed. So I mean, this is just one small example of it. But you also have rapes and murders and everything else that's going along with it. And again, we've got to get these people out of here. It's not about being mean. It's not about a lack of compassion. It's not about racism. It's not about xenophobia. It's you have imported people with a completely different set of standards, morals, beliefs, and culture. You are trying to literally force a square peg into a round hole when you're trying to do this. This is not what strengthens the United States of America, and there is so much of it. It has to be deported, and we have to put a pause on any new immigrants coming in. They all have to come in the right way, but they need to come in with some sort of standard. They have to speak English. They can't have diseases. We cannot import. I mean, If you think this is a lack of empathy, I would point you to misplaced empathy, toxic empathy, as some have called it. You are literally forsaking your own countrymen, your own children, your own family, your own fellow Americans for the sake of feeling good about yourself by importing danger into your country. It makes no sense. It's illogical. It's emotional if you advocate for this kind of thing. And I support what President Trump is saying here in that we need to pause immigration. He cites that whenever the president finds the entry, he's citing Immigration and National Security Act, Section 212F. Whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens in the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation and for such period as he may deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem appropriate. This is completely and 100% legal. There is precedent for this. It's been done many times. The polling supports it by 21 points. People agree when it comes to stopping more immigration. It's just like if you went shopping on Black Friday and you weren't allowed to go in the building because there's a law about occupancy level, how many people can be in the building from the fire marshal, right? You can't let any more in till some people come out. We are at maximum and then some capacity when it comes to new people flooding in here without time for assimilation and also vetting. We don't know who's in here, and we have to have time for assimilation for the ones that get to remain, and also deportations. And if you're mad about all this, then blame Biden, because he's the one that got us into this mess. President Trump is trying to correct it. And let me tell you, you'll be all about mass immigration up until your family's killed by an illegal immigrant driving an 18-wheeler, or your daughter's raped or murdered, or your mother gets mugged on the street, because raping and murdering and physical abuse and assault is normal in their culture. It is not here. And you'll be all about it until one of those things happens to you, God forbid, and then you will be the loudest voice. Why wait until reality has to slap you or your family member in the face? Think about it. If you want immigration, fine. There can be a time and a place for it, but we are overrun right now and highly at risk. And I fear that what we've seen happen over the last few weeks is just a precursor of what to come because of the Biden administration. You look last year, New Year's Eve, you remember that? The guy drove through Bourbon Street, Islamic. He wasn't an immigrant, I don't believe. But it's the same, ideology connections coming from some of these same people. Apparently, this Afghan national was radicalized here. So it's happening here. These people are here, and we must do what we can to root it out. Okay? All right. So I support the pause. What do you guys think? Michelle says, stop the madness. Also saying, I moved out of Minnesota almost 2 years ago. It's horrible. It's the Middle East of the U.S. And when you don't vet, this is the outcome. Thank you for your comments. Now, President, keep your comments coming. Or in the chat. The issue of the AutoPen, President Trump has nullified all AutoPen documents signed by Joe Biden, which is 92% of them. I mean, you're telling me Biden only signed 8% of them? Or, the AutoPen is not something, everybody uses this in the presidency because there's all kinds of things to be signed. But you have a paper trail of things that were approved. And so far, the only paper trail on some of these pardons is Biden's staff, various people sort of pushing this through, but there seems to be one very critical link missing, and that is Joe Biden in the chain of command and conversation. and communication. And so that's a problem. So President Trump hereby canceled all executive orders, which he can do anyway. But he also says anything else not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden. What about all of those pardons? 8,000 plus pardons, dude. I mean, no one's even come close to the amount of pardons. There's no way Joe Biden had any firsthand knowledge of those things. It's impossible. And so undo it all. Let me tell you, through this congressional testimony of some of these people that were around him, holy smokes, man. I mean, this guy didn't know what was going on. They are managing it all. And you know why? Because they were the ones that were hungry for power. They didn't want to say or blow the whistle regarding the true condition of President Joe Biden's mental acuity and lack thereof, because it would mean they are no longer in the inner circle and allowed to pull the strings. Completely selfish and self-serving at the expense of our country. I mean, is that not treason? I don't know what else would be. Anyway. All right, so we'll see what happens there with the AutoPen. Good news, for the first time in 4.5 years, gas prices are averaging $3 a gallon nationally. I've seen some clips online of people in some places saying it's under $2 a gallon. This absolutely directly affects the pocketbook, so get ready for more of the same. President Trump says that prices would be lower even than they are now if we weren't restocking the strategic oil reserve that was gutted by Joe Biden. So we're having to restock that at the same time. Once that's done, more supply and prices would be even lower, according to President Trump. Take a look at CNN coming to terms with this big win.
Gas prices below $3 for the first time in years. Let's get to CNN's Matt Egan for the good news on this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to finally be here with some good news on the cost of living front. So for the first time in 4.5 years, gas prices are averaging $3 a gallon nationally, according to AAA, down by 7 cents in just the past week. Gas prices were low a year ago as well, but they're even cheaper now. This is encouraging to see because late last month, there was a period where gas prices were actually higher this year than last year, but that has reversed again. And now we've just fractions of a penny away from breaking below $3 a gallon. Now, as you mentioned, we've got 20 states across the country where the average is actually less than $2.75 a gallon.
Gee, I wonder what the common thread is here. Lowest prices since 2021, right? 2021, the gas prices that were happening were a carryover from the Trump administration, right? Because he left in January of 2021. That's the last time we had the lowest prices. That means at no time during the Biden administration did they get this low because of Biden. Generally speaking, it's as if everything Biden touched, it's the Biden touch, not like the Midas touch. Everything that Biden touched turned to crap.
Including North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Colorado as well. Certainly nice to see this. Why is this happening? Well, it all comes down, of course, to oil prices, right? Oil prices are about $59 a barrel this morning. You look back in history on December 1, 3 years ago, we're looking at $81 a barrel for oil, $67 even last year. So significantly cheaper. And that's because right now, supply of oil continues to outpace demand. It's U.S. supply. Production in the U.S. is at all-time highs. It's high.
Really? Who had anything to do with that? Because if it were up to Biden, we got to protect some weird fish somewhere, so we can't drill.
Higher than last year, but only a little bit higher. OPEC is the big story, though, right? Saudi OPEC, they are ramping up production substantially this year. They've signaled that they plan to pause those output hikes next year. But for now, look, this is a good story when it comes to the affordability crisis. Gasoline, it's relatively cheap.
All right. Once again, I mean, it was historically low under the first Trump administration.
Good news for now, Matt Egan.
And it's, moving in that direction as well. All right. This is a disturbing story. This influencer, Keith Castillo, is traveling around the country to cities like Austin, New Orleans, and Little Rock. And according to the New York Post, he's handing out machetes. He's handing out machetes and booze to homeless people. My gosh, what could go wrong? This is a real story. Take a look. This is what he's been doing.
I can't. I gotta give it. I'll take it. Yes.
That's so great.
I mean, literally handing out brand new machetes and
There you go.
and booze. I mean, this guy's a sicko. And apparently cops have been called on him.
There you go.
And the cops are like, well, it's completely legal. I mean, how do you hand a weapon to a crazy person? Here's your booze and your machete. A machete and a, bottle of vodka. Or, I mean, that's probably pure grain alcohol, probably.
Out here, you know what I'm saying?
Anyway, if you're in Austin, Little Rock, or what was the other city? Los Angeles is where he's coming next. But if you're in Austin, New Orleans, or Little Rock, be on the lookout for homeless people wielding machetes. I mean, this is what world are we living in? Speaking of which, during the Biden administration, there was a hotline set up for migrant children to report safety issues with their sponsors. 65,000 calls went unanswered. That's according to recent testimony. Take a look and listen to how many operators they had standing by to take calls from migrant children in distress.
So you're telling this committee that the Biden administration, while they were letting all of these unaccompanied minors into the country, and as we've talked about today, they weren't keeping track of them, they issued these kids a hotline that they could call if they had trouble with the sponsor family that they were put with. And you're saying that 65,000 calls to this hotline designated to protect these kids went unanswered? Is that what you're telling this committee?
Yes, sir.
Wow. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Do you know how many staffers the administration assigned to answering these phones and helping these kids?
One.
One staffer? Any idea how many hours a day this staffer was working?
No.
Maybe that's why there were 65,000 calls that weren't answered from these little kids, huh? Unbelievable.
The Biden administration, they don't care about these children. They don't care about, migrant children. They had one person set up to answer calls. 65,000 calls went unanswered from migrant children who are trying to report problems and safety issues with their sponsors. I mean, you're sick if you allow this kind of thing to happen. I mean, it's just there's no defense of allowing these children to just be basically set free and never checked on again. And then of course we also know about 300,000 missing children that the Trump administration has been able to at least recover some, but who knows where these kids are and what kind of trafficking networks they're now in. Indefensible. Now, we're switch gears here, closing out the show here soon. By the way, give us a thumbs up, share this live, repost this live. Follow me on X at Ike Wingate and help us cover our costs. I've never taken a dime from this show. I'm just trying to cover the cost associated with our subscriptions and our technology to put it on. So we're continuing to grow. While we're growing, if you want to help us cover our hard costs, you can do so with a contribution of $5, $10, $20 at IkeReport.com, IKE report.com, $5, $10, $20. You can also become a paid subscriber on the Rumble channel at rumble.com/the Ike Wingate Show. You can be a $5 a month paid subscriber. You can also join our Ike Nation Locals group, where you can get in there for free, but there's extra perks for a small monthly subscription. Again, that is at ikenation.locals.com. That's also available by going through just the IkeReport.com website. But again, ikenation.locals.com, or right there on our Rumble channel page. It looks like there's some infighting going on in the House when it comes to Congress. It seems maybe Mike Johnson has lost control of the Republicans. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very upset that Mike Johnson is not advancing the America First agenda. And now we have Elise Stefanik, who is alleging that Mike Johnson is not putting forth this clause to help ensure against the deep state. Okay. And so we see this kind of unfolding online where Elise Stefanik, the congresswoman from New York, who's going to be running for the the governor race of New York, she tweets this out. I just walked out of a briefing on this issue this morning, confirming everything I posted yesterday. In fact, the speaker is, sorry, this cough drop was, getting a little mind of its own here. In fact, the speaker's blocking my provision to root out the illegal weaponization that led to Crossfire, Hurricane, Arctic Frost, and more. He's siding with Jamie Raskin against Trump Republicans to block the provision to protect the deep state. Okay, so she's saying Mike Johnson's blocking this thing. Okay, but then we go all the way back out to Mike Johnson, and he's saying, I don't even know what she's talking about. So there are some different rules for getting it out of committee that Mike Johnson talks about here, but something is going on. There's a lot of GOP on GOP crime happening in the U.S. House. You got these people retiring, just like we talked about with our friends from Tennessee earlier. Mark Green retiring. I mean, you got to stay in for the whole 2 years unless some really terrible situation happens, maybe personally, because then you have it's such a risk. And anyway, is there something else going on under Mike Johnson? Take a look.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Elise Stefanik wrote on social media this morning that you are protecting the deep state by not including a provision in the Intelligence Authorization Act. What's your reaction to this claim, and why is House Republican leadership not united on this?
Well, all of that is false. I don't exactly know why Elise won't just call me. I texted her yesterday. She's upset that one of her provisions is not being made, I think, into the NDAA. I explained to her on a text message as soon as I heard this yesterday. I was campaigning in Tennessee, and I wrote her and I said, "What are you talking about? This hasn't even made it to my level." The way regular order works is, and I think she should know this. We'll be talking about it, I'm sure, today. The way this works is that it has to go through committees of jurisdiction if it will be attached to the NDAA. And this provision that she's working on, I think, is under the jurisdiction of judiciary. And so there's a four corners engagement and agreement that's required. You all know how this works. The two chairs and the two ranking members of the committees of jurisdiction, which would be judiciary in the House and Senate, all have to agree, or at least 3 out of 4 have to agree. It's typically unanimous to make sure that it makes it onto the bill. Well, in this case, I found out last night, this wasn't even on my radar, that apparently didn't happen. I haven't even talked to those chairmen. I haven't had time because I got in late last night. But apparently those 4, the 2 chairs and the 2 rankers in both chambers did not agree. And so that provision was dropped out of the NDAA. It doesn't mean it can't become law or even that is a final decision. But
all right. So we talk about all these rules that you have to adhere to and go through this and go through that and blah, 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 blah. Well, the sort of broad view here is it's not a good look. It's not a good look regarding infighting. And there's been other people. Marjorie Taylor Greene alleged the same thing, that Mike Johnson was not putting forth legislation that she was trying to do and was not getting this agenda done. So what is going on? Now, is it just part of, hey, look, you got to wait your turn? Either way, there's some lack of communication, or there's something going on that's causing these sort of cracks. And good leadership has to root this out and remedy it. They have to fix it. And so I hope that gets done. But what I'm seeing so far, I'm leery about what I'm seeing here. It can't continue. It is time for the GOP to align, unite, and push forward in this agenda that President Trump received a mandate to advance. I mean, they need to codify several of these executive orders that President Trump has signed. They've got a lot of work to do, and I just feel like this first year, they really haven't done it.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, this is a lad who's in England who gets kicked out of a bar for wearing a Make England Great Again hat. Yeah, because of what it means.
You don't agree with that? Don't be surprised if other people ask you to leave wearing that cap. Yes, I'll take it off then, mate. You can leave. You can come back another time not wearing the cap. So take it off outside. You can take it off whenever you like, but I want you to leave. Yeah, but why? You know what? I've already explained to you why. You want me to leave because it says Make England Great Again? And what it represents. If you don't agree with that, then you shouldn't be wearing that cap. Because that's not about making England great again. And if you don't know what that statement means, you shouldn't be wearing the cap. What does it mean? What does it mean? It makes you a racist. How many racist? It's about not having anybody who's not white. My sister's a Muslim, mate.
All right, he says, my sister's a Muslim. Well, Make England Great Again hats mean racism. Just a hat that says Make England Great Again. It's racist. The same shallow blokes we find here in the U.S. as well. They get triggered by literally a campaign slogan and then attach all of the crazy, loony talking points to it so they can get triggered and deranged because of it.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, my friends, that's going to do it for today's show. Please follow me on X at Ike Wingate. Follow me on all the socials by going to my website at IkeReport.com. Give us a thumbs up, heart the post, and share and subscribe, and do all those wonderful things to help us get the word out. We'll be back with you before you know it. But in the meantime, remember, it is not time to back down. It's time to double down, because the truth is always worth it. Have a great day.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to The Ike Wingate Show.